Welcome to the Cyber Weekly. The Cyber Weekly is a podcast which talks about cybersecurity with book reviews monthly with Josephine, Olok, Angella, Nabbanja. So this week we have, I'm forgetting my flow. I should be asking you, do you have anything to say? Yeah.
Are you asking?
Josephine, yes. Do you have anything to say? Yeah.
No, looking forward to the review, Deo, and good morning, Deo and Angella.
Good morning, Josephine and Deo.
Morning. So, today's episode is a book called The Little Book of Connections by Jeffrey Gitomer. That is hopefully how they pronounce it, Gitomer or Gitomor, whatever. Yes, Gitomer.
Deo, you didn't learn phonetics. It's Gitomer.
Okay. So, yeah. I think we'll dive into the questions, and I'm the first one to be asked questions. So, I think you will alternate. So, Angella and Josephine. So, we'll start with Angella.
Oh, so I'll ask you.
Yeah, then she'll ask like that alternation.
Okay, so maybe you should first tell us how you found the book.
The book was good, insightful. A lot of the information which I've been doing subconsciously is now, I'm actually now seeing how things ended up working. And basically, I got to learn new things concerning how to network with people, connect, and how that world actually works.
Mm.
Yeah,
that's true. You're good at making connections, Deo.
Really? I did know.
Yeah, for sure. I think you have a knack for it.
Mm.
I do my best.
Mm-hmm. So do you have a little black book?
So when they said in this book, do you have a little black book? It reminded me of some people's ages. I.e. Josephine. So, when they used to have books which contained contacts, I actually had one which contained contacts when you're leaving school, and you'd be like, write your number here so that I cannot forget it. So, we had those books, and some which contained secrets. I don't know what happened to my diary. That's why I don't like writing things in my diary. Because they disappear, and you ask yourself, who is going to release my secrets one day?
They're going to lick them.
They'll lick them one day. Or they'll blackmail you one day. I don't know which one will come first. So yeah, there are those books. But nowadays, we have devices like the phone and PDAs. In the book, they talk of the crackberry, which was kind of like a joke of nowadays we have a lot of devices which you use for storing information. So that's basically it. Do I own a black book? You should talk to me nicely. Maybe I will release the information slowly, but yeah. So that's it. That's the premise of the book. So the black book is basically you storing information which is critical to you, and how you can easily, how I think it chimes into the next part where we are talking about how information starts with value and all that. So yeah, basically the book is about
the black book was
sharing your secrets about your connections.
Contacts of your connections.
Yeah, contacts and your connections.
And I think currently is just how we should be very intentional about storing the contacts and also backing them up. Sometimes your phone is stolen and you start from zero. You have no one's contact, but people who back
I
their
don't think
contacts
nowadays it's a big problem because you find that
you'll be surprised. People
for
don't
you,
back up their contacts.
if you do that for you, yours we should just cane you because
Not me, but
at this
people
point-
be like, "Oh, I lost my
at
phone.
this-
I don't have some of my contacts." And
yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't back up their phones. So I think it's there's obviously backups to the cloud and all that, which are automated, but a lot of people, once they lose their phone, it's like they've lost everything.
Everything.
And they start again. Yeah.
Recently I was having a friend of mine who was transitioning from an Android phone to an iPhone, and I was like, how am I going to get all my contacts? I was just doing manually one by one. I'm like,
no way.
There's a better way of doing this. So I just had to connect the contacts. You give it access to your Gmail, the Google contacts which you already have, then it just auto syncs them. So yeah,
that's true.
I actually had somebody I had to help with this transition from Android to iPhone, and then they forgot that the iPhone and Android, they don't talk well in terms of WhatsApp. So I went into iPhone and no WhatsApp, started anew. Something like 400,000 messages. People nowadays do their business on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
And this is a lawyer who sends documents on WhatsApp and all that. So it's like, I can't live without all the stuff that was backed up. Yeah. So I went through a process of doing that thing. It took me like a day because it was, getting an app to which pulls a backup, and then getting that backup to translate it to iPhone. So it was, but 400,000 messages.
Wow.
With all the images and all that stuff. So it's not an easy transition between the two.
True.
For WhatsApp, but everything else it should be more straightforward. Yeah. Anyway, so I used to have a black book there, yes, but I don't anymore. I don't know what happened to them, but I don't have a black book anymore. I have my phone, and I back up my phone every month. So
that's good.
Yeah. So how do you offer to value to someone who you need?
The way you offer value varies. So, and depends on the type of relationship you're having. But if you're talking about the book itself, they're saying connection is all about your friendliness and your ability to engage and your willingness to give value first. If you see me looking this side, just know I'm looking at my cheat sheet.
Yes.
So it's literally, if you're looking to seek for value, you have to know first of all the person you're dealing with. What do they like and what do they not like? And easier way now, like let's say if you're going for a chapter, like let's say Isaac has a conference or any other conference you go to, you can be easily introduced to someone if you already know someone who knows that person. And that's a good way of starting up. And when you start those conversations, there definitely has to be a level of value. And you have to understand, okay, this person works in this industry. How do I offer value to this person? And the conversations usually rely on that. A good example would be is us having this podcast is a way of offering value to people in our circles. And that's basically meaning people in cybersecurity who are seeking to transition to different parts of the industry. Let's say they're planning to become a CISO, or if they're planning to enter networking. We have a guy who came in for networking. We had a guy who came in for GRC. We've had quite a number of them, and that's offering value to our community of people. And with that, there's also having like nowadays it's usually these social media videos which work more effective compared to the olden days where we had more of the newsletters. Newsletters still work, but people prefer more of the video content compared to reading. So us tapping into that and offering value through, having different guests and also having relevant conversations is a way of offering value to people. That's a good example of offering value. Another example would be is if let's say you're setting up a shop and you have added value, like putting your chairs for your customers to sit and making sure the place is clean and all that. That is also adding value. And when the conversations come in, you're able to communicate and create rapport with your clients. That's also another way of offering value, and also trying to solve their problems, going beyond the normal work to help solve issues is also another way of offering value. Because at the end of the day, you have to first offer value first in order for them to actually, want to connect with you. Yeah. Another good example would be the way me and Josephine became friends. I don't know if she's waiting for us to disclose the secrets. So
you can disclose, it's fine.
So basically, the way we got to know each other is through the newsletter. She used to be like, okay, yeah, nice newsletter. Then I also used to like her information on LinkedIn and all that. Then also when she had the conference, I also went and met her there then. And also during the Isaka event, we talked. So slowly by slowly built a relationship. Then when I told her about the podcast, it was easier for me to sell it because at least we had got to know each other. So offering value first, then and you do the ask. Hence the Cyber Weekly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I already told you they were good at making connections.
Yeah, so that's it.
Okay. Could you please tell us about the 6 degrees of connection, Dale, according to the book?
Okay. There's 6 degrees of connection, but it's more. That's how we wrote it, but it's supposed to be 6 degrees of separation. Mm-hmm. So it was invented by a guy called Frigyes Karynth in Hungary in 1929. Mm-hmm. FYI, I'm reading it from the notes.
You did your research.
So basically, the theory goes that there are usually 6 people you have to go through in order for you to meet someone. Let's say you're planning to meet the president. There is 6 people you have to go through, 6 connections in order for you to meet them. But the thing about this is for you to get big connections or meet anyone, you have to be able to offer value. And also the person who you're connecting with has to be someone who knows so many people or is well-rounded. So that only works. The theory is kind of not so straightforward as you might think, because you might have 6 people, but those 6 people are not able for you to even reach the office of the president because they don't know exactly how to do that. That works for some organization which deals with the government and is able to link me up with the president. That's a strong and valuable connection, which can be used to leverage me to be able to meet the president. So that's basically how it is. So we have to have, there are basically two things. One is get someone who is able to reach that person you want to reach. And the second one is make sure when you're having those conversations, you have to have value. Value is very key, because you might enter the office and you have nothing to say, and it ruins the person's name, and you're like, and the next time you want to ask for a favor, you're like, I don't know. So you'll be calling and you see your phone going
unanswered,
and you'll be asking yourself what is happening.
I think sorry to interrupt, that 6 degrees of separation is or connection is that it's a myth. It's dispelling the myth.
Yeah.
Saying that if you need 6 people to connect to one person, the likelihood of you getting to that one person is actually quite low, because you have to connect to one person and the other one. The degrees of separation are too high, and it's more important that you reduce that number to maybe 2, 3 at most, and to, instead of going through this one and then another one. I mean, yeah, I think it's basically saying that it's a myth. People say that it's there, but it's a myth. That's what you need to connect. Yeah.
Yes, because the higher the degrees of separation, the more difficult it is to connect with someone. The less in common you have with them, they're like, "Oh, what is that telling me?"
Exactly.
But,
exactly. Yeah.
So on to the next question, and I'll take on the first one. Then, yes, Angela, you will take on the next. So, so Josephine, you're now the one on the chopping block. So, why do people fear connections?
Okay, so he there's a in the book, the author says most people are afraid to connect or reluctant to connect because either they're unprepared, that's one, they fear rejection, they have a limited way of looking at themselves, so limited self-image or low self-esteem. So it says when you're unprepared, it's more about, if you're unprepared, then you're probably nervous about connecting, because you don't know what you're going to say. If you're going to talk, you don't know what you're going to say, or if you're going for an exam, you haven't studied properly. So unprepared brings about that nervousness, and obviously the best way to overcome that is to prepare. Yeah, if you've made an appointment with somebody, prepare what you're going to say. Look at what value you're going to add to the conversation. Because there's no point, as Theo said, having a meeting with somebody, and then you go there and you have nothing to say, and that will not help you in your connection to that person. And then the second one is fear of rejection. I think it's common. We don't want to feel like we are not included. You want to feel that people accept you for who you are, and it's easy to give up when you're rejected, because it really touches your person. It really touches on your person. But the author says the best way to overcome that is to look at it as a way of, every time somebody tells you no, it gets you closer to your yes, especially when you're in a sales position. So you shouldn't look at it as a personal thing. You should look at it as it's like my step to getting to where I need to be. The third one is how you see yourself. A lot of us, we don't feel that we're worthy to meet people, or we're worthy to meet and connect with people who are important. And you don't see yourself as belonging in those maybe high-powered circles, or especially of the circles of the people that you want to meet. So you feel, you see yourself, you don't feel that you're equal to those people. And that's a challenge. And I think it's about, it's how you see yourself. You've got to get it into your head that you are equal to everybody else, that everybody's equal, whether they are president, they're also a human being like you. And you have to get into your head and stop feeling like that. It's one of those things where if it's in your head, then you don't feel good enough, then you will not connect. There's also the concept, the lower self-esteem. It is, I'm not, I mean, it's perhaps how you have been conditioned, how you've been brought up. You've grown up thinking, or you've grown up or been surrounded by an environment which puts you down, which says you're not good enough, which says you're not worthy. So you've brought that you carry that with you. We have parents who perhaps have not been as nurturing as we would have liked, or you have bosses who can insult you, so you can carry that as part of your self-esteem. And of course, it's about getting out of an environment, surrounding yourself with people who actually encourage you to be better, who support you, people who cheer you on, who says you can do it, who give you that positive reinforcement. So yeah, so those are the 4 reasons. The 4 reasons why people fear to connect. I think he says in the end that that you have the biggest barrier in making connections is your mental state of fear fighting against determination. Fear will manifest itself in the form of procrastination. You put it off and put it off until you're hurting, and then you may take some action. It says it's like going to the dentist. You put it off and put it off, but with going to the dentist, there is pain, isn't it? You only put it off as long as you can withstand the pain. Mm-hmm. But with networking and with making connections, you can put it off for forever because there's no pain, is there? So unfortunately, if you keep putting it off, it means that you procrastinate, and then you lose out on all the opportunities. But you have to get over that, over all the fears that you have. Yeah.
This reminds me of a time when I'd begun teaching, and they had hooked me up to start, going to organizations to start teaching, visiting offices like National Drug Authority, stuff like that. And initially, I felt very incompetent because you're looking at people with masters and all that. You're just seated there, and you're like, and where do I fit in? But the conversation we had last week with Gregory Richard's son.
Oh no, it's Greg. It wasn't Richard. It was Gregory.
Yeah, Gregory. Yeah. So when we had that conversation, he said something about distilling information for people to be able to understand it. So your job is to distill the information if you're a professional at something. So when I was teaching them, I was distilling information, even if I didn't have the credit, I didn't have the masters and all those doctorates and all that, the CPAs and all those things. I didn't have them. But when it comes to what I was doing, I was good at it, and I was distilling the information in a way that they were able to understand it.
Yeah.
So then that's basically how I looked at it, because I knew if I would offer value and be able for them to understand this, even if they're good at this, I'm helping them use that thing they're good at properly with the technology which is actually available. So that's the relief I got. And that helped me transition to other things like now cybersecurity and all that. So it's the same concept, and that also ties in also in, they're also human beings like you, and you're not supposed to be good at everything. So you be good at one thing and someone else will be good at another thing, and there's nothing wrong with you asking for help where you're not good at it. So that helped also.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
What is a personal commercial and why is it important, Josephine?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So a personal commercial is basically how you engage with a personal contact, a potential connection. It is that 30-second commercial where you are able to articulate who you are and what value you bring. So the author says you want to engage them in a way that makes you interesting and makes them interested in connecting with you. Yeah. After the 30 seconds, if you have not, how you connect with them after that 30 seconds will tell you whether you have engaged with them or not. So it's like, how will they respond? So if you've given your 30-second commercial and you get a blank face, you haven't delivered your message. You have not connected. And of course, once you've given that connection, once you've given the commercial, and you can then use, once you've engaged from that 30-second commercial, then you can start asking them questions about themselves, and then you can start engaging further. But what is important is you make it short and you make it concise, and you make sure that the other person knows what you do when you're finished. So you have to be able, you know, that thing of the elevator pitch.
Yes.
You're in front of in front of one big person, and you're in the lift, and you have that short period to tell them about yourself. Now, if you start by saying, I went to primary school, my parents, it's not going to fit in 30 seconds. So it needs to be very impactful. And of course, it takes practice. Yeah, I think it's not good also to be, it's good to be concise, but it also good not, so you're not vague, so that people are very, very clear what it is that you're doing. If you're vague, you've lost people. Yeah, but you have to keep it short.
That's true. There's I think he's a CIO. He's called Elijah Kitaka that I follow on social media. And he talked about an elevator test that he had, an elevator conversation that he had in the early 2000s when they were just starting to automate systems. So he met, I think, his Richard Byarugaba, and at that time he was at Stanbic Bank. And he told him, you know, in the elevator, I think they worked in the same building, and he had seen him. So this one morning, they meet in the elevator, he greets him, he's like, oh yeah, introduces himself, and then he told him, you know, we can automate your bank processes so that we empty your banking holds. You know, he told him right straight away the value that he can add. Yeah. So, but to his shock, the CEO told, oh, okay, meet me at this time in my office. So if you can do that, and he gave him an appointment. But you know, if he hadn't used that moment, I don't think he would have got his foot in as quickly as he did. But he provided that, he told him the value that he can add, and the CEO was interested, and the rest is history. I found that interesting. Yeah.
And he got his attention very quickly. Very quickly. Saying, this is the value. Yeah. Before even saying, my name is so and so. That was great.
This is the value. Yeah. So they automated the systems, and today Stanbic Bank is ahead in automated systems.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
So, people like to buy, not to be sold. What does that actually mean?
Okay, so he basically says that from the perspective of salespeople, when they walk into a room, they always try to sell something, but without having connected. It says that the customer often wants to buy something, but not to be sold to. So you need to be connecting first, yeah. So, and you need to be selling them. I mean, you need to connect to them so that you're telling them something which is relevant to them. So you're not coming and saying, I want to sell you a Hoover. You need to be looking at their perspective. What is it that they want? Yeah. And how can it profit? How can it give them value? How can it profit to them? So if you're not successful in connecting, then you will not be able to sell to that person. The person might be polite and say, "Oh, okay, you're selling Hoovers. That's good. Maybe you send me a proposal," but you've not connected. You've not found out whether the person even has a carpet. You've not found out whether the person has the need of a Hoover. Maybe they have a maid who sweeps. Maybe they don't have a carpet. Maybe so. That connection is important. So it says that the fundamental of connecting is the questions that you ask the person. What are you asking them about what you're trying to sell to them? What ideas are you bringing to the table? How are you communicating? And how do you show up? How are you showing up? Are you passionate? Do you believe in yourself? Do you have the right attitude? So if you're not having any of that to form a connection, you're not going to sell. So that's essentially what he's saying.
Okay. So a good example would be if someone wants to approach Josephine, what do you think is a prerequisite for that?
But it depends what you want, right?
Mm.
Okay.
So I mean, you should at least know something about me.
Let's say someone in insurance.
No, let me just give you a good example. When I met Angella, I'd been connected through somebody else and said, we need to meet. So we talked. But when I met her, Angela knew everything about me that's on LinkedIn. And all she was asking me was about
she did homework in advance.
I had to.
I'm not a great talker, but I talked that day. I felt like it was not an interview, but it was a conversation about what my job has been, the challenges. It's like somebody showing interest in you, and on that, having built that connection, it's like there's nothing Angela would have asked me to do that I wouldn't have done it because she made sure of that connection. So that's a very good example, for instance. Yeah.
Okay.
So you need to know who you're trying to connect to. At least have something. Nowadays, with all the information that's available online, find out something. You might even find a nice gem of a piece of information. Like they might put on their Facebook or whatever that they like a football team. You can say, "I see you're like. I'm also a great fan of thingy," but you can say something like, "You guys never win anything." Those are the things that create the connection because it shows that you're interested in the person. But when you're just trying to sell me insurance, you don't even know what I want. It's gonna be hard. Yeah. Sorry. So back to your question, Deo, about someone selling me insurance.
Yeah. If someone is trying to sell insurance, I think insurance is one of those biggest hurdles in the country. If you notice, even during the FITSPA event, we're talking of the penetration rate. Is it 3% or what?
Yeah,
something like that. So so if someone wants to sell insurance, what's the best way you think someone can sell insurance, especially to you or to the members of FITSPA and all that?
I think it's finding out what they need, really. It's about finding out what they need, because insurance, again, is broad. If you start by, trying to sell me motor vehicle insurance, it's like you're wasting your time, right? Because I already have motor vehicle insurance. It's not a sale. It's a requirement. You have to have motor vehicle insurance. If you're trying to sell me medical insurance, you have to come from the point of view of understanding whether or not I already have insurance, medical insurance. And then maybe questioning me about that insurance so that you can perhaps sell one that has a better value or better or an enhanced package. So if you start by saying we have this insurance that does this, then I'll be like, I have my insurance, medical insurance, but you haven't even tried to find out. So it's not going to help your sale because you're not interested in whether I have it or not. from the business angle, you could try and find out whether I have a business. At least if you're approaching me, you should know that I have a business. Within a business, there's many insurances that you can sell a person. There is professional indemnity. There is asset coverage, cyber insurance. So perhaps asking me about my business and trying to assess whether there are challenges within my business I would need insurance. So I think it's the questions you're asking and the way you're engaging, but don't start by saying, I have this product, blah, blah, blah. A lot of people do that on LinkedIn. I used to respond, but now I've got to a stage where I don't. When someone is asked to connect to you, you connect. The next thing they're saying, I have this product, blah, 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 blah. Really?
Like,
Yeah.
On LinkedIn, people don't like those guys so much with a passion. I remember when I was talking to Dr. Johannes Ulrich, he says when he connects to someone, then they start bringing their products, he just blocks it.
I don't block, but I used to try and acknowledge every message that came to me, but now I'm at the stage where there's so many that come through that you just say, you know what, even, they even send you attachments. There's somebody who sent me a link to a podcast, thinking, I've just connected with you. So it's important that you connect fast and lead up to the ask. If you've not created enough connection, don't start by asking, because it's like you're losing the sale right there because you've not connected enough.
That's true.
Yeah, you've got to look at it in the long term, really. Okay.
So, Angela,
yes,
are you ready?
Like you're putting me on fire.
Are you sure?
You have to be your turn.
Yeah.
I'm ready. Yes, I have my notes.
You have your notes? Okay. So how do you create wow?
Wow. So based on the book, the strategies of creating a wow impression on the people you're trying to connect with. So firstly, you make the interaction personal. Like Josephine had said, I went on her LinkedIn and read everything. So I knew what to ask. And instead of just having blanket statements, you keep people wondering, like, what does she want from me or something like that. But I gone to her, it's like, what, I want to advance in my career and you've inspired me and this is what I want to know. You make it personal. You do your research. Don't just bombard people. So also, you should endeavor to offer value in your interactions. Sharing relevant insights on what you've experienced. Sometimes having people who have events, instead of just sending a blanket invite, it will go a long way if you have personalized invites. Then people will be more willing to come, to maybe even give it thought, other than just sending just one general thing. Then so people would know that you're actually eager into like engaging them. Listening actively when you connect with people, not being distracted with phones or just looking away. Body language also matters, when you're connecting with people who have like maybe their hands crossed and then they're looking away. Psychology shows that people who don't make eye contact or maintain eye contact, they're usually telling lies. So that also should be considered important while connecting. People respond thoughtfully and empathetically so that, you keep people engaged. Being a rock also will make it not a rock, but just being insensitive. People won't want to connect with. Someone is telling you their story and what they've been through, and you're like, oh, okay. You're not listening actively. You're not being empathetic or giving any insight. You just want them to get done over with so that you can also say your story. So I don't know. Following through on commitments and promises that you've made while you're connecting. It could be just to maybe introduce someone to a person, Josephine is so good at this. She'll tell you, okay, I know someone who does this. Maybe you'll benefit from them. And it could be maybe a day or two, and she would send you the contacts, and she would also have called them, So it's safer to connect with them because they know Josephine, so they would be interested to know what you're saying. Josephine, thank you so much for that. It's an example I've taken. Once you try to connect, yes, once you're trying to connect with all these people, and they don't know you. So that connection, they'll feel safe because they know that connection, so they feel safe now to even give you an air time. Could be just even a phone call. But that's just been very good with following up and following through. Authenticity, because people really can tell when you're being what is it? What's the opposite of authenticity? Counterfeit.
Fake.
Fake. So people can tell when you're not being genuine and not transparent in communication. People beat around the bush. Sometimes, you just tell them, maybe those people who sell insurance, I think they would have broken ground if they come and tell you, maybe they come to me to like, would you like to maybe not have to pay out of pocket when you go to hospital? Maybe this medical cover will be good for you. But then do you know how they come approaching you with all these products without showing you how it could be helpful to you? They're just interested in accumulating the numbers and making sales. So maybe that should be looked into. Then long-term relationship building, not just being interested in what you can get and going. So mutually beneficial relationships are important. Investing and nurturing our connections so that you don't just come to take, like Dale, when I met you, I was like, okay, maybe I can help you edit. But then you and Josephine just threw me in the pond. You're like, no, come and host with us. So I was thinking, maybe the value I can do, maybe I can just edit, and because I don't mind being in the background. It's like, no, come. So I found that very helpful in creating this long-term relationship and also creating rapport and moving things naturally instead of just coming and getting and then just disappearing after getting what I want.
I once had a wow experience. I just thought I'd share. I was really impressed. I had gone to Nairobi on work meetings. So I went to check in the morning. Then I checked in. Then I left, went to the office, came back in the evening after a long day. Then I went into my room, and there was a cake. What I hadn't even thought about was that it was my birthday.
Oh wow!
I didn't think about it.
It's such a wow
cake. It was a little cake, but and they had a fruit platter. I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. Now imagine, I hadn't even thought about my birthday, because obviously when you check in, you've got to check in with your passport. Or I hadn't even thought about it, and I was like, God, this is good. So like, wow, is about that memorable thing. And obviously, if I went back to Nairobi, I would think about wanting to go back to that hotel, because people are paying attention to you. They're wanting to give you the best experience. So it really helps. So I think, like the wow experience is saying, is that if you keep doing this, if you keep looking for even small opportunities to make your customers, to make your connection, say, wow, if you want to connect with somebody, maybe you go with what you know that they like a book or something. That wow experience will really lead to connection. So yeah, I just thought I'd share that.
That's true. That was actually a wow experience. Because it's like, oh wow.
It's serious.
I was confused at first. And I was like, is my husband here? But I was in Nairobi and I traveled. And I was like, and then as soon as I got into my room, they called me and they said, we want to wish you happy birthday. And I was like, wow, these guys. Yeah. Yes. It was nice. Yeah. It was nice. Yeah.
So part of that is also knowing cultural differences. Because I have a friend of mine who I talked about but I have a friend of mine who has a friend who is a Somali girl. So when you try to greet the person, they won't give you the hand. They'll just greet you, but they won't give you the hand. So you have to know the cultural difference that, these people actually what? They don't hold hands. So you might want to hug someone, but the person is like, no, because of cultural differences. Or some won't be able to look you in the eye because of the cultural differences. So yeah, cultural differences really need to be outlined. And if you understand, like, these people, this is how they behave, this is how they behave. I believe also Gregory talked about it during his conversation that some people will be blunt enough to tell you this is not good, but the Japanese will be like, it's okay.
The North Americans,
North Americans will be blunt with you. So so you need to know the differences in culture and how to read between the lines, even if someone is saying it's okay, but you are saying the okay is not okay. So you need to understand.
When he says this,
that's true. Okay, Angela, does the first impression really matter?
Oh, definitely yes. First impressions really matter, and people will judge you according to the initial perception that they've had with you. Imagine meeting someone for the first time and they have body odor. That will inform your memory of them. So as when you meet people for the first time, endeavor to be confident, professional, and that will also inform their decisions on how to continue to engage with you. Also dressing nicely, not being shabby. It will give the visual cues of on how you carry yourself and who you are, body language and tone of voice. A positive first impression can pave way for further interactions or block them. People won't want to build that connection with you. Also, it sets tone for trust and credibility, the way you talk, also what you talk about. You've met someone for the first time and you're saying all the personal things or even asking inappropriate questions. You make people very uncomfortable. So people need to look out for that, and also looking out for opportunities maybe to influence people when you meet them for the first time. This by showcasing your strengths and expertise, so that people will know the qualities that you have, and then also that will inform their decision, or also your decision to further the connection or how far you can go.
Okay. Then on to the next one is how do you maintain these connections?
That's true. I struggled with that a lot.
That's a big struggle.
But I found that in the book, they say after you've created the rapport, it makes it easier for maybe a deeper connection. Like when I met Josephine and I told her, oh, you know what, this is the part of life I'm in. And it's like, because she was helping me edit my CV, and I just knew I don't want to let her go, but I didn't know how to. So now, maybe do you have maybe like a circle of like people in at my level, like that you can introduce me to? And then that's how she's like, okay, by the way, there's Deo, so you could connect and find out. So fast forward, I called Deo, and he was so unbothered. Like, yes, hello. I said, Deo, Josephine gave me a number. I said, yes. Very unbothered. Very charismatic. So yeah, can we meet? And I just wanted to hold on to that and say how I do want to go back to that place where now I have no connection. So do you remember that? So maintaining connection, I found that regular communication with your with the connections that you want to make. You don't even have to call them, but like these days you can follow them on social media, like their posts, articles. Somehow you keep abreast with what people are doing, and maybe if you meet them, you can now that can be a conversation starter. Like, oh, I saw you here. Or like when I see Josephine the Fit Spa events, and then she'll even tell you more. Oh yeah, so this is what they're doing, and so that's how you stay updated and keep that connection. Staying genuine is, I can't stress that enough, because also for me, I can tell when people are not being genuine. When people are just trying to make impressions, you just tell me this is how life is going and this is what I'm doing. You don't have to create an image that's not there. You just end up pushing people away. It helps meeting people in person. I found that, in this hyper connected world, when you see people on social media and on the internet, you could think you know them, but you don't. So going for these events, networking events, and also just making sure that you actually know people in person will help you so much. Celebrating people's successes is very important. Successes and achievements. LinkedIn makes that easy when what someone updates their job roles. It's even auto send auto save message like congratulations. Even if you just post that, when people go through the comments and they know this person is on my radar or in my corner, and they're happy for me celebrating this milestone, and that helps in keeping some connections. Those are some of the strategies you can apply in keeping the connections.
Josephine, how do you maintain your connections? Mm-hmm. That question, I even felt like you want to manage it better.
Yes.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, as Angela said, I think nowadays we have many platforms where you can stay connected. There's I see my LinkedIn profile is I have a lot of connections there, but a lot of people I don't know personally. But to stay connected with them is to acknowledge what they've posted, not always, obviously, but so you like, if they've changed jobs, you congratulate. And then you've got this WhatsApp forum where you are in a forum because you're all in one industry or whatever. So staying connected, keeping updated there. But I think it's also important to make sure you have an inner circle of people who you're much more intentional about connecting with. So your friends, your family, your closer associates, your mentors, your sponsors. So those are people who have a real direct impact on the quality of your life. So you need to be intentional how you connect with them. And it shouldn't just be, because those ones you don't connect on LinkedIn. Even if they like your posts, you need to be knowing how they're doing. So phone call, a one-to-one, once in a while, meeting them face-to-face, having a face-to-face video so that you know what's going on with them. I think that's important. So looking for opportunities to keep those connections active, especially your inner circle, I think are important. Because sometimes, if you don't go on LinkedIn maybe for a week or 2 weeks, people might notice, people might notice, might not notice. But you can always pick up that. But if you don't do that with the inner circle, then you could lose out on that connection. People might feel that, perhaps you're not really appreciating the value of the relationship. So I think it is important to be very intentional about how you connect with everyone within your network.
That's true.
Now, there's always this big misconception, especially when you're dealing with people who are high officials or big in their industry, that you need to actually actively communicate with them, which is not the case sometimes. How do you ensure that you still have a proper communication with them, but still, maintaining distance so that someone doesn't feel like you're intruding so much in there?
And they are busy.
I'm sure you have undergone this. So how do you usually manage that? And what do you usually expect from that person?
First of all, I give them grace. I understand that people are busy. There's this mentor of mine that I wanted to meet so bad. There's a group that we joined. It's called Girls for Girls. So they connected us to mentors, right? So you look at their profile and they're always traveling. People are busy. It took me like 1 month and a half to just get her to see her. So she was in and out of the country, but I feel like for most people like that, you can take what you get, really. Because you see, Josephine will tell you, oh, I'll meet you this time, and she'll show up, right? But some people, maybe it's not as important. Maybe you're not offering value. And that's just the truth. But just give them grace and just try to make more connections with people who are willing. You don't now just turn out to be nagging, trying to reach out all the time, sending them messages, and people are not replying, but you keep on. So I feel like you read the room and take what you can get and see what you can offer. If you're not getting what you keep on moving. Life will just give you another opportunity in the future. I don't know how Josephine will handle that.
Yeah, I think the connection is based on the value. So if you haven't made that connection and you haven't really created a relationship, then it's hard to stay to expect that the person will give you the time. Yeah. So you can imagine somebody who's on who's always traveling and all that. You can imagine how many, and they are probably attracted to a lot of people. You can imagine how many messages they get to request for connection. Want to meet you for tea. I mean, sometimes you don't even have that luxury of that time to go somewhere, to meet somebody. So it's really about, like what this book is saying. It is, what value are you bringing, and have you created the connection and the relation where you can now start asking to meet somebody for tea or. So it's important that you also take the time. Knowing how busy they are, as you said, it's important that you just look for the opportunities to connect. It will take time, perhaps, to get to the stage where you're connected enough, and where you can then start talking about the value that you bring to the relationship, where you can then ask for tea. So, I mean, for me, I have so many, when you go for functions, lots of cards, and of course, in trying to build my network, I should be following up with those cards, but a lot of times, I'm like, you just put the card in your black book, and that is it. So you're not following up. So I have a lot to learn in terms of making sure that I create the connections. Maybe better that I create a connection when I meet the person, because after that, then if you don't then follow up after the event or whatever, then even they forget. They're like, who is this person? But you start by making that connection if you have a face-to-face and understanding what value you can bring. I think the author recommends that you write down the back of the card what
they
the person
do.
is, what they do, and then it guides you to knowing that if I'm going to follow up, I'm going to pick up on these issues to follow up with the person. And as you said, it takes time, but it doesn't mean that that you stop. You just have to keep looking for those opportunities to connect and keep working at it. I mean, as I grow older, there are more people who I connect with, but there are less people who are now people I actively connect with. I don't know if you know what I mean. When you've got if you look at your inner circle, then there's an outer circle, then there's maybe another circle around it. It's more now about the quality of connections for me, less about I need to talk to this person because because I think it's just about the value that they're bringing and the time that you have, because you have less time to have bad connections, if you know what I mean. The bad connections, you kind of like, I don't need this one. You just move on. So I think it's important that you create the connection first before you start chasing, and that creation of the connection takes time. But it's so important that when you meet that person face to face, that you're bringing value almost immediately to them, and you're creating a memorable connection, because then that would be the basis of then further connection and maybe further meetings and further opportunities. But having that confidence to be able to, however big the person, having that confidence to when you meet that person, to be able to say something which matters. That 30-second commercial, that valued connection based on what you know about them, all those are important.
Thank you, Josephine.
There, what's your perspective? You asked.
My perspective is, as Angela said, you need to read the room. You need to read the room, because sometimes you might be not like the guests we usually get. Sometimes you talk to someone and it's like, no, you'll get back to me next time. Or in a week's time. Don't be that guy who next day you're asking this same person. So you give them time. Like they have other things they're doing. It's not like you're the only problem they're having. So you have to respect that time they've given you. So if they say, okay, 1 week, you just wait. Then after the 1 week and you're like, oh, what's up? How far? Then they'll let you know. And actually, most people who are usually in high executive positions, they're usually more transparent if they don't like something and if they like something. So if they don't like...
Because they have less time to waste.
Exactly.
So they'll be upright with you.
So if they don't like, they will let you know immediately. And that is, me according to me, that's a good trait, because at least you give me more time to now look for someone else or something like that. So... yeah, that's good. But yeah, still reading the room. So sometimes you talk to someone for some time, then if you delay to talk back to them, then sometimes you can't jump right in with some people. But others, it's okay. So you have to also understand the type of attachment you're having with the person. Some people require constant attention, some don't. Now, a good example would be if someone is closer to you or family related. Most of the time, they might require more attention compared to someone who is not a relative. So, and also close friends. So it depends on the type of relationship you're having with the person also. Executives don't mind if you don't talk to them on a daily basis. In fact, they are happy sometimes, I think.
They don't have that time.
So yeah, even if you don't talk to them for a week, they won't even lose sleep over it. So yeah, but if you do that to your spouse or something like that, I don't think you
They were doing about spouses.
Yeah, that won't work. That doesn't work.
That won't work. Yeah. So yeah. So thank you. Thank you, Angela and Josephine, for making it for today.
Thank you.
And being part of this episode. So our guests, please check out episode 16, which is with Dr. Fei Fei Lee. That one was a very interesting book about AI, and also a lady who grew up from China and came to the United States, and how she made it in the AI industry and her challenges. It's an incredible book. So we reviewed it, so check it out, episode 16. Other than that, see you all in the next episode.